Hello, Suzanne Henwood from mBraining for Success here, and I am talking today to Michelle Poutu about cardiac conditions, heart health, and how that links to mBraining. Both of us have a cardiac condition, both of us have a different condition, and we just thought it would be really interesting to explore that with each other and then record it and share it with you. We don't know where it's going to go. Our big aim is to give you some insight into knowing us and how emotions and things can affect heart health, and what we can do using the skills of mBraining to help us if any physical symptoms arise. So I guess the first place to start, Michelle, is just for you to say hello and who you are and where you are. We've ascertained you're safe driving, so you're not going to be looking at the phone. But yeah, who are you? Where are you? And if you want to drift straight into a little bit of your story.
Sure. Thank you, Suzanne. I'm very much appreciative and forever grateful to be chatting with you today. I've been very much looking forward to this. As you introduced me, my name is Michelle Poutu. I live in Sydney, Australia, born in Sydney, Australia as well. I am, however, married to a beautiful Maori boy from New Zealand, which I know is your home, Suzanne. So,
yeah, kia ora.
Yeah, kia ora. And he's been an adopted Aussie for close to over 20 years now. So I think they call them Mozzies here in Australia.
I love that. I didn't know that, Mozzies.
Yeah, they call them Mozzies over here. They particularly like to gravitate to the beachy areas, which is not something that my husband has done. He's in Western Sydney, but that's okay because we're happy. In terms of where I'm at and who I am and what I'm doing, I guess that is a forever journey in terms of, personal development and all those sorts of things. But the last couple of years have been extremely chaotic, to say the least, in my life. And particularly 2019 was probably an extraordinary, challenging year for me. I have experienced quite a significant level of I suppose, trauma over the past few years as a result of certain things that have happened in my life. And 2019, I suppose you could say, it's sort of come to a head. And it seemed to have been one thing after another in 2019. It was like, oh my goodness, I want to get off the world, to stop spinning. There's so much stuff going on. And I suppose there was a lot of warning signs and things that I didn't read into at the time that were shouting out loud and proud to me to put the brakes on, but I just kept on pushing through all of that. And, sometimes when you just get so caught up in life and you just keep on doing things, you tend to lose sight of what's important and what's going on around you, particularly with your own body. And last year, there were several things that presented themselves to me that I probably should have put the brakes on. And I didn't. And somebody else, by that I mean the divine, the good man upstairs, decided to give me a little bit of a wake-up call. And around October last year, I was experiencing a lot of pain in my head and particularly in my jaw. And I actually thought I had a ear infection because I felt quite off balance and a bit like I was experiencing vertigo. And that was happening for several days, and I really didn't pay too much attention to it. And then on the Tuesday of this particular 4-day experience, I got up to go to work, and I really didn't feel myself, and I felt really quite tired, and I got back on the bed again, and I thought, I better go to work. So I still went to work. And during the course of the morning, one of my colleagues had said to me, are you okay, Michelle? You don't look real well. And I said, no, I'm not actually feeling the best. So I said, I think I'm going to go off to the doctor. So I went off to the doctor and I asked her to check my ear, and she said I didn't have a middle ear infection, and she checked my blood pressure and it wasn't the best. Next thing you know, I was on an ECG machine, and she said, I don't want you to be alarmed, but I think you're experiencing a heart attack. And I was in the back of an ambulance and on my way to emergency, all within a matter of probably a couple of hours. So that was a huge shock for me. I don't want to go into the huge details of it, but I guess what I wanted to talk to you about is that there was warning signs there that I necessarily didn't pay too much attention to. And as I've since learnt, heart attack warning signs, or the onset of heart attack, the signs are actually significantly different for a female as to a male. And mine was a build up of significant stress and lack of sleep, because I was actually, I am quite a fit person, and I always have looked after my health. And up until this heart attack, I actually had lost a significant amount of weight as well. And by significant, I mean I'd lost 20 kilos.
Wow, good on you.
And the doctor had actually said to me at that point, had I have not lost the weight, the outcome would have been very different. And the level of scarring that I would have sustained on my heart would have been significantly more than what it actually had sustained. So what ended up happening, I had a blockage on the right-hand side of my heart. The conductor wasn't doing its job, and it wasn't pulsating down to the bottom chamber of my heart, and it was causing all sorts of mischievous things that were going on. But I suppose what I want to highlight is that the sensations that I was getting from a vertigo perspective and the jaw pain up into the side of the head wasn't something I was relating to my heart. And it was the last thing that I would have thought I was going to experience. So if there was anything that I would like to get communicated across via this channel with you, is the fact that for women, you need to have such a level of education with regards to understanding and being aware that doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, things like heart attacks and stuff like that, they don't discriminate. And you can be fit and healthy, or you can be the opposite to that, and you can still experience what I experienced. And thankfully, I'm very healthy now, and I'm back on track, and I wanted to do everything that I could possibly do to prevent any intervention, artificial intervention, I mean by that. And so with my cardiologist, it was like, tell me what I need to do to avoid surgery, because I don't want to have surgery. And this, I guess, is where the mBraining and the power of visualizing and tuning into my heart for a period of several weeks helped me, in conjunction with some medications, to unblock the blockages in my heart.
Well, good on you.
So yeah, that's I suppose the top line level of what I've experienced, and it's been an amazing journey, and I want to be able to, I guess, share it and get it out there in the world, and hopefully through this means it's an opportunity to share that, and how when you're in touch with your own body, and when you're in touch with your awareness of what's going on for you, in particular skills and techniques such as mBraining, how that can actually help you heal. without
Beautiful, beautiful.
Western medicine.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, we could have all sorts of debates, and some people would not go down a medical route and they'd go wholly complementary. Some people would go wholly medical and not complementary. I, like you, have gone in parallel, and I'm doing lots of work and I'm taking the medication that I need to take at the moment. I'd like to come off it in due course. So much of what you said resonated with me. And this is the first time really I've sat and talked to about the kind of process and the journey. For me, the link to mBraining is kind of even deeper in that I got ambulanced out of an mBIT training room into hospital. So my link to mBraining is really, really key. I was looked after by the students, by, you know, my beautiful co-trainer who just carried on and professionally kept the room going while I walked out with an assistant who is an mBIT trainer as well, and we did what we had to do to call an ambulance. But so much of what you said resonates. So I want to go right back to the start, and let's unpack some of this for the purposes of helping other people avoid getting where we were, which was finding ourselves unexpectedly in the back of an ambulance and then hospital for however long. So the first thing you said that resonated with me was there was a build-up of issues and stress over time. And I so resonate with that. You talked about a year. I think for me it was probably over 3 years worth, starting with bullying in a workplace, losing my house in a house fire.
Wow.
Losing my mum, losing Grant Suzalu, who is the developer of mBraining, and then holding the field of mBraining in order to pass it back to him when he was better, and of course he didn't get better. So I think for me, I had maybe a longer run up, and maybe I don't know, you know, I can identify some significant life stresses. And attached to that, you can imagine losing a house fire. That means 2 house moves, because I had to move out into a rental and then back into my own home. That itself is, you know, logged as a senior stressor. So in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't be surprised I ended up where I was. But of course, I was a stress coach, and I'm an mBIT master trainer, and I had all the shoulds running in my head that I should be able to manage that stress, and I should be able to stop myself having an impact physiologically. So what else would you add to people in hindsight, because we know wisdom is in hindsight, that as you look back now and you see the damage that was doing accumulatively, that at the time you didn't know where it was going to end up, you didn't necessarily know the damage that it was going to do, what would you say to women who are maybe in an earlier stage of that, who are just keep on coping, who are just keeping on with everything, even though they know they're struggling or they can't hold it for much longer, and yet even on that day you felt really poorly, you got back up and went to work again?
It's a really, really interesting question, because now in hindsight, that was my body telling me that you need to put the brakes on. And yes, I wasn't listening to what my body was telling me that I should have been doing for me in that moment. And for women out there that are potentially, you know, at the stage in which you or I were at, you know, some time ago, when you have those moments where you feel that you just can't push through, I feel they're the moments when we need to listen to ourselves so much more than that other voice that is telling us, no, you'll just get through this day. It's only a couple of more hours, or, you know, just get up and do it. You'll feel fine later. Listen to your body in that moment and take a step back. Tune in to how your heart is, tune into what your gut is saying, tune into what's going on in your head. And even if that means reaching out to somebody, you know, a phone call to someone, or who, if you're living with someone, I'm really not feeling the best, talk through it with somebody. And I think even if you have to get up and go to work, you have the right to have a mental health day if that's what you feel you actually need. You know, we have those leaves there in our workplace for a reason, whatever the situation is with your work. You know what? It's going to be there the next day. It's not like it's the whole world stops if you just stop, because you're going to be in a better position to be able to deal with that. When you come back and you actually listen to yourself, love yourself, hug yourself, and take care of yourself, because it can be over within an instant. And if there was anything that I learnt out of anything of what I experienced, was my life could have been over. And having my husband sit in the emergency room on that morning, or actually afternoon, when he has lost his mother at the age of 9 to similar circumstances. She was 30 when she lost her life. And he said to me, crying, "Michelle, I can't lose you too." You know, so you don't want to be in that position of what I was in. And if you've been fortunate enough to be given those warning signs, then tune into it and listen to it, because whatever it is that you feel is more important than you, it's not.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm sitting there going, what is it about women whereby we always put ourselves at the bottom of the priority list, whether it's a job or getting something for the house or sorting the house out, whatever, everything in that other voice puts us at the bottom of the list. Well, I'll just do this. I'll just keep doing this for another couple of months. I'll be all right. I'll negotiate. I remember negotiating with my body in order to keep going.
And that's so true, because, you know, our own bodies, it should be it's non-negotiable, really. I mean, what value can you put on your health? Honestly, you cannot put a price or a value on your health. You really, really can't. And, you know, we are all very willing and ready to go to a doctor, and need be, if you need to have a prescription and you've got to pay for that, then that's great to invest for whatever it is that you're experiencing that you need medication for. However, wouldn't it be better and more responsible of us as individuals and looking after our body that we invest to prevent rather than invest to have intervention at the last minute? So if there's something that I've learned out of this, is to invest in the right things for my body to prevent things that would mean I'd need to have intervention, and I don't want to have intervention.
Now, beautifully said, beautifully said. So it moves me on to, let's assume there is someone out there who is resonating with this but is still ignoring all of those body signals, and they are still carrying on. And we both got to a point where those signals became so loud you couldn't ignore them, and yet we still didn't recognize them as serious. Interestingly, I also had jaw pain, and I didn't know as a woman that that was a sign of a heart issue. So you know, really emphasizing, particularly for women listening, that how we experience heart conditions is very different, or can be very different, than in a male. And so I hugely recommend you going and looking up on Google what the signs are for a woman, jaw pain being one very common one that now we both know and we would take more seriously another time. And certainly if I heard somebody else saying that, I didn't realize that at the time. I was thinking, you were thinking ear infection, I was thinking tooth infection. Mine was a little bit further forward. And I'd just been to the dentist that week for my 6-month checkup. So I thought, I know I've just been cleared. This makes no sense.
Yes.
It makes no sense. I put it aside and I ignored it because I knew it wasn't a tooth infection. Or at least I knew it was unlikely it was a tooth infection. Very interesting, eh?
Oh, so very interesting. And another thing that I actually experienced also too, and I'm not too sure whether or not you can relate, was that I had nausea. I felt quite nauseous in the stomach, and I was getting tingles in both sides of my arms. And I felt really like I was very, it was almost like I wasn't there. I was there, but I wasn't there. It was like nothing was actually resonating with me when that's when the girl at work said to me, you know, Michelle, are you okay? And it was like I was having an out of body experience. And, you know, leading up to all those things, you know, all the things that happened to us, I think when we talk about how we suppress our trauma, or they go back into the subconscious because we feel that now's not the time to deal with it because we've got to deal with other things, and it goes in that never-ending terrible cycle that we keep on suppressing, and it comes up and says, hey, you've got something here you've got to deal with. Really, you've got to deal with it. And whatever it is that's going to take for you to acknowledge that your body is telling you that you've got something to deal with, just do it.
Yeah, and you know, and if there's any hint at all that something's not right, go and get yourself checked out early before it becomes severe. I had all sorts of
100%.
little warning signs. I went to my GP or a few weeks before mine, and I said, I feel odd even coming for this because there's nothing major, but I don't feel right. And I gave her a list of symptoms that seemed totally unrelated, which included, you know, tingling and stiffness and pain in the hands, which included heart palpitations. And I started on a journey of lots of different testing. And I was partway through that when I woke on a Saturday night with chest pain. Even then, I rolled myself onto my back, breathed through it. And because it went away, I went back to sleep.
Yeah, you see? Yeah.
And I did, and that was the night I got the jaw pain. I didn't understand the significance of the jaw pain. So, you know, I think we need to get much more wise as women about how to care for ourselves. We need to be much more bolshy about looking after ourselves and, you know, tough who gets let down or something doesn't get done along the way. So the other thing I wanted to pick up on as you were talking through was, I want to split it into two parts. The first part is, in the moment, did you consciously use any of your skills from mBraining to kind of help you through, and any of your skills now in hindsight help you understand what was happening?
Oh, yeah. For answering the first part, I truly believe, had it have not been for my skills and my education in understanding what was going on for me through what I've learned through mBraining, keeping myself calm so that the emergency people could do what they needed to do when I was in the ambulance was not only beneficial for me, but it was also beneficial for them to be able to care for me.
Beautiful. So what were you doing? How were you keeping yourself relaxed?
I was breathing. I was just breathing nice and calmly. I do recall having my hand on my chest and just tuning into my heart and saying to myself, everything's going to be okay.
Beautiful.
You're going to be okay. You will be fine. You're in good hands. And I was just had my hand on my heart like that as they were doing what they needed to do as I was getting taken to the hospital. And I actually remember the ambulance officer saying to me, he says, for somebody who's going through this right now, you're actually extremely calm. I do recall him saying that to me, and I said, I don't think I'd want to be the opposite, to not being calm, because it's not going to help you do your job, and you need to look after me, you know. So that, had it have not been for those skills, I think I would have been an absolute mess, and it would have made the job that he had, my life, in his hands 10 times more difficult than had I not had those skills.
And it probably would have escalated all the symptoms.
100%, believe that wholeheartedly, 100%. Now that I have gone through this experience, I make time for myself every single day. I do not compromise with my health anymore. I've got 2 beautiful children, I've got a beautiful husband, and I've got beautiful family and friends around me that need me. And sometimes we become ignorant to how precious life is.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we're given a gift, and I refer to what happened to me as a gift, to give me a shake up to realise how beautiful life is and those people that really need me. And so therefore I do not compromise with looking after myself now. And through my skills with mBraining, and through my skills to be able to ground myself through my health knowledge and my wellness knowledge, I am able to just tune out from the everyday and understand in my mind, my heart and my gut that nothing is more important than me.
Beautiful. I mean, you've almost, my second part of the question was going to be, having got through the acute phase and the emergency bit, what do you do on a daily basis now using mBraining to kind of keep moving forward into full health thing? I don't know where you're at now, whether you're fully back to health. I'm not quite back to my normality yet.
Hmm.
But yeah,
I
what do you
thankfully
do
had
daily?
I had my most recent cardiologist appointment, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, 2 Fridays ago. The swelling of my heart has come down and everything seems to be chugging along or beating along quite
Beating
well.
along nicely.
Yes, yes. And he was actually in awe of how healthy I am. And he was just like, whatever it is that you're doing, just keep on doing it, because it is looking after you the way that it needs to be looking after.
Did you tell him about mBraining? Oh, I've lost. You've gone muted.
Phone call coming in there. So I walk every day, and
Yeah,
when I walk, I listen to beautiful audios that tune my body in, like my mind into my body. And I make a conscious effort to do at least between 5,000 and 7,500 steps every single morning. And I do that peacefully. I don't overdo it. I'm very conscious with my eating. I make sure that I'm feeding my body every single hour. And I drink up to 3 to 3.5 litres of beautiful, purified water every
wow.
single day. And I do not compromise on any of those things. And I take beautiful organic supplements, beautiful omega-3 fish oil tablets that come from the Arctic, the deep oceans of the Arctic, the fish from the deep oceans in the Arctic. And I take beautiful supplements to enhance my diet for those things that I'm actually not getting through the food that I eat. So the meditation and the mBraining element of it at nighttime, I tune myself out after the house is quiet, and I take time to tune into my body. And none of those things do I compromise on.
Beautiful. You're putting me to shame. I thought I was doing really well, doing a minimum of 3 walks a week and possibly 4, which are around 5,500 steps, I reckon, estimated. I walk for 55 minutes, but I'm only doing it 3 or possibly 4 times a week. I'm in awe of you doing it every day.
And you know what? That's okay, because you will build up to
Oh,
that.
and I'm still very early days, right? It wasn't that many weeks ago I couldn't walk 100 meters without getting out of breath. So, you
And
know,
look at you go. How amazing is that? And you've got to be in touch with your body and what your body is capable of achieving based on how frequently you can do it. And look, my experience with my heart happened back in the beginning of October. So, you know, I'm certainly well along in my journey now. And like I said, I'd already done a significant amount of health work on myself leading up to that. But it was, as I mentioned, the stress and the lack of sleep as a result of, would you believe, other factors, not necessarily things that were at my doing, but I have a very sick baby girl who had spent, you know, 7 or 8 different episodes in hospital. And both my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, amongst other things, and my brother had had a stroke. So there was just like these consecutive things, one after the other, after the other, after the other. So whilst I was already on a health journey, it was actually all those other outside factors that brought me down. So you want to, yeah.
Yeah, I can, again, I can totally and utterly relate to that. So last thinking, as I'm listening to you and thinking, what have we not talked about that might be important? And you mentioned it, or you touched on it, in terms of this being a blessing and this being a wake up call, really. How have your values shifted since the heart attack?
In terms of spiritually,
However you want to answer it.
in terms of spiritually, I am by far more consciously aware of how important that value in my life is, and definitely respectful of how important that value is in my life. And I do make a conscious effort to connect with that, because that's my belief. I've kind of gone off track there a little bit. What was the question again?
Well, it was about how have your values changed? Because I've noticed for me, yeah, I don't know, are you NLP trained? Have you ever elicited your values? Yeah. So, if you had elicited your values, say, way back in August, and then subsequent to October, have they shifted? Are there new ones in that kind of top 5, 8 that weren't there before?
I think they have shifted in terms of how I value myself, and how, in order for me to be all I can be for those that I love, I actually have to value myself more, because it actually makes me a better human to be around. It makes me a better friend. It makes me a better mother. It makes me a better wife. And it enables me to have the strength and the knowledge and the power to be all the things that I can be to those that mean the world to me. And I think if there's any message that I want to get out there as a result of this, is that there is absolutely, above all, no shame whatsoever in valuing yourself. Because unless you value yourself, how are you ever going to expect those that you care for to value you? Because if you're not showing yourself value, you're not passing value on as a value to those around you. Absolutely. So you're basically saying to yourself, I'm second to you. And
second to everything, right? We're second to everything.
Exactly. So it's just the shift. So yes, the value has definitely shifted. My mindset it's just not compromised. I won't compromise on anything when it comes to me and those that I love. And
I'm laughing because I said to someone the other day, I've become really bolshy when it comes down to me looking after myself. I've made some major decisions in the last week, because I will not compromise on my health for anyone or anything.
100%. And why should we, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, you've got beautiful people. You have, the way my wisdom coach put it to me, and I think I shared this to you earlier on in our emails, is that whoever it is greater than us that you believe in, or whatever your belief or value is in life, they gave you this gift to enable you to slow up so that you can continue to fulfill the purpose that you've been put on this earth for. Beautiful. And had I have not been given the opportunity to stop and rest, how am I going to be able to progress further to deliver the message, or to help those that I'm fortunate enough to be able to pass the gift of what I've learned? And that's why I'm here. And I want to be able to fulfill my purpose. And I can't do that unless I look after me.
Michelle, I could carry on talking to you for ages, but I know people won't watch for long YouTube. So I want to say a few things. I want to say thank you so much for being vulnerable and open and having the conversation with me in a recorded capacity, and us being willing for that to go out wherever it goes. If it saves one woman's life, it's worth it, right?
100%. Yes.
I also want to say thank you for being you, because you have got a purpose on earth, and I'm so grateful that you're here to fulfill it, and that you and I have both been given a second chance, and that we might not have been here, tag end of last year. And yeah, just, I don't know, just kind of thanking you for your authenticity and your courage and that heart that is so evident, that needs to be there for other people. So thank you.
Thank you, Susan. You're making me tear up a little bit, because, when I first seen your post about what had gone through, what you'd gone through, I had to reach out to you to say, hey, you're not alone. And I know exactly where you're at and what you've experienced, and my heart is with your heart. And if we can do this together, then I'm all for it.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I was so grateful, because when you go through something like that, and I have to share a slight humorous bit with you. I've just had one of my letters through for a hospital appointment and it says it's the older adults clinic. I'm like, you what? I'm not an older adult. But I had a stroke and a heart event on the same day, and so I'm now under 2 different specialties. But yeah, you can feel alone, and you can feel very ignorant about what just happened, and other people might not want to keep hearing it. You know, it's like, it's over, it's done. It was last November. Get over yourself. Surely you must be all right by now. They have no idea of the deep, deep changes that it does generate in you. And so I guess reaching out, and I'm guessing you'd be okay if there's someone else listening to this who just needs to speak, to be heard, to share their story, then you know, you and I would both be okay to connect with them and encourage them. Maybe what we'll do is just put our emails on the back end of this so that they know where to get hold of us.
Oh, absolutely. I'm all for it. If I can help anybody in any way, shape or form, I am here.
You beautiful human being.
Yeah,
and I think both of us are here primarily to say this was a journey we weren't expecting. We didn't recognize the signs. We didn't necessarily listen to our bodies early on when our bodies were saying, you have reached your maximum capacity, and we kept going. So to say to people, please, please, please look after yourselves, listen to your body, and stop, get rest, get deep health intervention before you end up in an ambulance going into a coronary care unit.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with you there, because yeah, I don't think I can say any more than what I've already said.
No.
Life is so precious, and you know, reach out where you need to reach out, and you know, I'm here, you're there, and if there's anything I can do to help anybody out there that's listening to this might just be that little push that you need. And if we can help you, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to open our hearts to hear what's going on for you.
And we're both mBIT coaches, so the skills that we have used for ourselves, we can teach you to use. So, you know, if that does resonate with you, if you are experiencing lots of stress and you're feeling that build up, then yeah, get in touch with Michelle or I, and we can teach you how to just bring those levels down in a healthy way to avoid you going into a crisis.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Bless you, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. You beautiful human. You take care of yourself.
After all we said before the video, it's Suzanne.
Oh, Suzanne. Sorry. My bad.
It's okay. I might have to start adopting both identities.
Oh.
I'm going to find out who this Susan is. Hey, you take care. You keep getting more and more healthy and back to full vibrancy. And yeah, go and show the world what you're there for.
Awesome. You too, Suzanne.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.